This is quite a small, pretty versatile, very basic travel fridge. It can plug into 12 volts in the car. It can also plug into the mains. And it really is just for the few things that you want to just keep cool. Right, so kitchen mode needs a few basic things. It's all weather dependent, so depending on whether there's wind, rain, or sunshine, you want to just at least have some form of cover. So this is a basic tarpaulin setup. I'm using 6 poles. These are telescopic poles, so they can fold down. And again, these are items that take up a very little amount of space. The main tarpaulin on the top here is a very basic 3 by 5 meter tarpaulin. It's got all of the right eye holes, so you can fit the poles and make adjustments. But it itself folds up into a very small bag. So much so that I actually have a second tarpaulin, which I'm using as a windbreaker. This one is basically just set up like this. I'm using clamps, basic G clamps, to attach it to the poles, which are already standing. And then I'm just using basic a few extra tent pegs to secure the base. Incidentally, the reason why I'm suggesting 6 poles is because that allows for you to make the right adjustments so that the car can park partially under the tarpaulin. And because these poles are telescopic, you can adjust the heights of all of them so that the car you can open the hatch, basically pretty much full way open underneath the tarpaulin. So now you've got all this extra cover, and even if it was pouring out here, we can still function. We can still run kitchen mode. Yeah, there's quite a lot to cover in this one, but let me see how I can piece this video together. When you've done making your meal and eating and just enjoying a lovely morning breakfast, for example, one pro tip is, instead of bungling all your dishes into a box and sort of marching off to the washing up rooms, just get yourself a pack of basic wipes and a roll of kitchen towel. That way you can wipe down with wipes all your cutlery and plates, cups, probably even your cookware as well, and you can just dry it and put it away right then and there. You don't need to kind of have that, you go camping and you feel like you have to slog out to the washrooms and come back again. Anyway, that's just a pro tip. All right, good morning and welcome to kitchen mode. So this I'm going to talk you through is basically just a basic camping table set up, a few light items, small fridge, small cooler bag, a few things, a box, a couple of chairs over there, and some extra room to work. It's all you need, and you can make this great camping kitchen setup. So as before, the secret of kitchen mode is basically a kind of minimalism. You want to figure out, source things that are relatively small, high quality, relatively multifunction, and that fit well and fit easily into the back of your car. So Tesla, right? So you can deploy all of these things like the table, making room for bed mode, or sleep mode, which is what we'll talk about in a future video. But you can manage the weather, you can manage situation relatively well, and you can still, despite being relatively minimalistic, with the right things, you can have a really high quality meal out here in a beautiful setting, all to yourself in the middle of winter, basically. So let's go through a few things. Alright, so this table, it's a nice folding camp table, folds up into a relatively small bag, fits into the back of the car. Great. This is a really stunning induction stove or induction hob. This one runs up to 2000 watts. We'll go over induction hobs probably in a bit more detail, but the reason for getting into an induction hob is that you can use a really nice heavy frying pan, and provided it's an induction frying pan, you can really benefit from frying up a lovely set of sausages and bacon and eggs and that sort of thing, or you can have a really high quality meal. Yeah, on to the next one. Another pro tip about kitchen mode is these items here, the small fridge, the small bag, and any other items here that would otherwise be kind of at risk of being exposed to rain and the elements, could be packaged up and stored even on the front seat of the car while you are asleep. So whether it's raining or whether it's late at night and it's time to go to bed, these smaller items, if you don't overdo it, and you just balance it out, they can be packed away in places that you are not using while you're sleeping, inside the car. And that means that the rest of this, the table, the tarpaulin, probably a few items, can just remain outside, whether it's raining, whether it's pouring with rain, whether the wind is blowing. It doesn't really matter. So long as the key things that you have, like the induction hob, packed away back underneath what we call the sub trunk. As long as those key things are packed away, then you can handle any weather. Now obviously you can't cook up a great big meal with all of the ingredients and utensils and equipment you need if it's absolutely chucking it down and the wind is just really strong. So at those points in time, we'll kind of reduce our meal times to more like smaller meals and snacking meals, which we'll go over as well when we talk more about the sort of mini kitchen mode, which we can create inside the car. But we'll talk about that when we talk about mini kitchen mode. For now, kitchen mode, as you can imagine, it's really fairly basic, but it's really, especially on this morning with this beautiful sunshine, it's really magical, really enjoyable experience. And it doesn't take much. It takes a lot of thinking, it takes a lot of careful consideration. But really, when it comes to goods that you need, very, very much fewer things than you might expect. Right, now, you remember coffee mode, at least the coffee mode that we did inside the car. This time round, we're going to use kitchen mode, which is set up out the back of the car, and we're going to take our goods that we normally use for making coffee, remember these items: a small gas stove and a few other items. And we're going to set up coffee mode outside the back of the car, where we have kitchen mode going on right now. Right, so this is what we're going to use for coffee mode. Got a couple of stoves here. We've got a coffee pot. We've got a steam wand, coffee grinder, coffee, milk, water, and of course a cup. So let's do this. Is that good, guy? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's funny. Mm-hmm. I see. Yeah. It's always good to have a pair of these with you when you're making coffee or you're dealing with any hot items. These are flame protective gloves, and they double great for home use as well if you're taking something hot out of the oven. Very nice to have a pair of these handy. This is steam, Hector.
Why did this pop off?
I'll fix that, don't worry.
I'm just gonna go on the chair, okay?
Yeah, sure. I'll come and sit relax with you. Cheers, guys. Not bad for a amateur coffee. Alright, and that was outside coffee mode, as you would run coffee mode inside of the outside kitchen mode. Now, just to reiterate, I might have not explained this before, but you might be asking, why do I go to such lengths to make a coffee? Now, it's all right, you know, I've frothed the milk okay, and I've, you know, made a pretty decent little brew. It's a very tasty coffee. To me, it's a fairly high quality coffee. But the main thing for me is that it's a ritual, and making something like the process of making a coffee into a ritual with certain little bits and pieces that I like to use makes it fun, makes it something that I can just almost meditate on. It's just a little meditative journey. And if I make one of these, what I think pretty good coffees, subjective opinion, but if I make one of these a day, then that's me doing my little ritual once a day. Also, significantly though, as you may have noticed, I'm using, again, very small items, very small, high quality, well, I would assume to be relatively high quality pieces of equipment that I can pack away small and I can take with me. So I can make my coffee in my kitchen at home every day with the same things, but I can also stick them in a box in the back of the car and make my coffee wherever I may be, camping or whatnot. So that's the name of the game. Anyway, on with our video. Alright, so reflections by the fireside. First thing I want to talk about is when you go on a camping trip, what aspect of that trip owns what? Like, does the maintenance of a large vehicle own you and dominate and oppress your enjoyment of that experience? And the reason why I'm talking about that now is because I'm noticing that by a sense of minimalism, whereby not cutting out quality, but cutting out quantity of unnecessary things on your journey, the quality of the experience is enhanced. Like right now, I'm just thinking that this Tesla, it answers so many questions. If you need to dry some clothes, camp mode will do it. You just drape a towel across the back of the chairs, it'll dry that towel. If you need fresh air through the night, it'll answer that question. If you need a constant stable temperature, it'll answer that question. If you need to just sit down in a comfortable space like a little mini lounge and warm yourself up on a cold night, again, it'll answer that question just with camp mode. So I can sit outside here and I can enjoy my little fire here, and I can enjoy the confidence that I really actually have very, very little to do. I've got a few key things like setting up a tarpaulin and taking a tarpaulin down, rearranging modes of the car and the setting to cater for kitchen mode, sleep mode, lounge mode, office mode, etc. But just using my brain, just using your brain and in a dynamic way, and reutilizing the same spaces, the same tools, the same components, you can revolutionize your experience and you can set yourself free. Whereas if you're in a huge, beautiful motorhome, given they're beautiful and luxurious things, you've got to clean that thing. You've got to get in those crevices and you've got to clean out those cobwebs and dust, and you've got to deal with stuff that's been hoarded and crammed up in there. You got to wash things out. You've got chores. You've got a large vehicle. It's a similar concept to having a large house. You've got something you don't need. You've got a bunch of stuff you don't need. You've got space you don't need. You've got materials, goods, etc. that you don't necessarily need. If they're not serving some form of sensible and useful redundancy, then they're just weighing you down. And they're just robbing you of an experience you could be having. You know, the Joneses aren't everything they may seem like. You know, chasing the Joneses, as the saying goes. Competing with the Joneses. You know, no offense to anyone with the last name Jones. It's just a saying, at least here in the UK, that competing with the Joneses basically means you're getting the next biggest, best thing and lots of it because you want to show up your neighbor who's got the next biggest, best thing and lots of it. You lock yourself down. You lock yourself way down and you immiserate yourself with goods and quantity when you're not thinking about utility. If something's useful, super. If something's redundancy is useful and reassures you of your situation, great. But if stuff starts weighing you down, it's like an expensive purchase with very little return on the investment, then ask the damn question, do I need it? You know, people walk past your campsite and they will stop and stare if you're doing something unusual. And so what? How long are you here for? How long is one lifetime compared to the millennia that roll across the universe? You know, it's a blink of an eye. Make it a good blink. So, once again, hats off to Tesla. Tomorrow morning, I will pack all of these items into a relatively small space. You know, in the car, in a relatively manageable amount of time. I'll be relaxed, I'll be refreshed, and I'll head on home, and I'll rest well, and I'll get into my week, and I'll get into my workload, and I will carry on with life as usual. And I will just reutilize pretty much everything, or most of the things that I used on this camping trip, which brings me to the next point. If a way to measure, or I recommend, okay, is a way to measure the utility of something. And I'll use an example. I've got a set of apparatus that I'm using to make a nice coffee. All right, my coffee ritual. All right, these things are relatively small, compact. I can pack them in a box. I can travel with them, but I don't necessarily need to stick them up in the attic when I get home, and then wish for the next camping trip to use them again. I will actually just continue using the same items again the very next day in my normal daily routine. So if you have things that you really cherish and or that you really enjoy, that you can take along on your camping trip or your journey or your holiday or whatever it may be, that you can reuse, that you can take with you in a bag, that you can keep in the office, that you can reuse on a daily basis, that bring you joy, or at least bring you a little closer to yourself. Things that are compact, things that are not necessarily complicated, but things of quality to you, that you can enjoy on a frequent basis, then I would recommend that those are the things that qualify for your time, your money, your effort, and your energy. And that everything else is just smoke and mirrors. So have a little think about all of that. Thanks for coming with me on this journey. Please feel free to share your ideas and opinions. I'm actually really happy to continue to share knowledge as best I can, and to just encourage all of us to just participate in the best way we know how, for the good of this beautiful, earthly population that's soon to be multiplanetary, and who knows where to. Have a good night, everybody.